You spend roughly 4.3 years of your existence strapped into a metal box on wheels. Your personal kingdom, your sanctuary from the chaos, a space where you're in complete control, or so you believe. The truth is far stranger. That bubble of automotive freedom sits inside a labyrinth of laws, so baffling, so absurdly specific. They suggest humanity's collective relationship with vehicles has been guided by fever dreams and bureaucratic paranoia. From criminalizing the placement of fuzzy dice to regulating where livestock can be tethered, this isn't just trivia. It's a tour through the magnificent legislative madness that secretly governs your commute. Buckle up. 1. Pennsylvania's Automotive Disassembly Theater. Early 20th century Pennsylvania lawmakers attempted to broker peace between horse and horseless carriage with a rule so magnificently absurd, it deserves its own museum exhibit. The 1909 law demanded that if a motorist encountered a spooked horse, the driver must pull over and, if the animal remained distressed, disassemble the automobile and conceal the parts in nearby bushes. Not just park, not simply wait, literally take the car apart, piece by piece, to avoid offending equine sensibilities. This wasn't regulation. It was unconditional surrender to the horse lobby, a legislative demand that every driver also function as a field mechanic with a full toolkit. The sheer logistical nightmare of roadside vehicle dismantlement transforms this into the crown jewel of absurd traffic laws. 2. The splashing pedestrian offense. Soaking a pedestrian with puddle water is a universal bit of urban misfortune. The kind of random accident that generates embarrassment, and perhaps some choice language. In Japan, however, it's a punishable violation of the Road Traffic Act. Drivers who splash mud or water onto pedestrians face fines up to 7,000 yen. Though, depending on circumstances, charges can escalate to civil or even criminal offenses. This reflects a culture where causing even minor inconvenience to strangers is taken with deadly seriousness. In Tokyo, the careless puddle spray isn't just rude, it's potentially lawsuit territory. Compensation requests can include cleaning costs, damaged belongings, legal fees, even lost wages if the victim misses work. The law essentially transforms every rainy commute into a high-stakes obstacle course where puddles become legal hazards. 3. The fuzzy dice felony files. Those fuzzy dice dangling from rearview mirrors represent pure Americana, retro cool in plush form. In at least 9 US states, including California, Texas, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Minnesota, Illinois, Colorado, and Virginia, they're completely illegal. The law isn't about dice specifically, it bans anything hanging from mirrors that could obstruct the driver's view. The magnificence? This regulation criminalizes that pine tree air freshener, your parking permit, even religious medallions. Illinois recently modified enforcement amid racial profiling concerns, acknowledging these laws enabled selective stops in communities of color. Critics argue such statutes give police pretextual reasons for traffic stops. What began as safety regulation evolved into something more controversial, a legal tool weaponized or ignored depending on officer discretion. Your fuzzy dice aren't just retro style anymore. They're a potential legal interaction waiting to happen. 4. Germany's fuel management mandate. On Germany's legendary Autobahn, that paradise of speed where many stretches have no legal limit, running out of fuel is a crime. You can legally travel at velocities that would tear the doors off lesser vehicles, but if you sputter to a halt because you forgot to fill up, you're the criminal. It's not considered a breakdown, it's a preventable human error, a failure of planning that transforms you from stranded motorist into public nuisance. The law classifies fuel depletion as an administrative infraction, with fines ranging from €35 for stops under 3 minutes to €70 for anything longer, treated as illegal parking. In worst-case scenarios, if running out of fuel causes an accident, charges can escalate to gross negligence. The logic is sound. Stopping unnecessarily on high-speed highways creates immense danger. But the irony remains exquisite. Unlimited speed, but limited forgiveness. 5. Florida's parking meter pachyderm protocol. Florida delivers legislative gold with impeccable consistency. The state makes it expressly illegal to tie an elephant, alligator, or goat to a parking meter without paying the fee. The law specifies that if you lease your pachyderm to a meter, you must deposit money as if it were a vehicle. Lawmakers didn't ban the act of parking an elephant on Main Street, they just wanted to ensure the city got its quarter. This law originated in the early 1900s, shortly after Ringling Brothers Circus arrived, when elephants were occasionally tied to parking meters. The beautiful glimpse into municipal priorities. The biggest civic concern isn't the elephant in the room, but whether that elephant has paid for its spot. No records exist of recent enforcement, though witnessing such a citation would be magnificent. 6. The Albanian automotive apartheid. For decades, Saudi Arabia maintained one of the most controversial automotive laws on earth, a complete ban on women driving. For nearly 30 years, it was the only country where women could not legally get behind the wheel. The prohibition wasn't about traffic safety. It was social control wrapped in transportation policy. The ban was finally lifted in 2018, a monumental shift that reshaped the nation's social fabric overnight. Women who'd spent entire lifetimes as passengers suddenly gained mobility and independence. It's a powerful reminder that laws aren't just about traffic flow. They define freedom, opportunity, and an entire generation's role in society. The change didn't just put women behind wheels, it symbolized a seismic cultural recalibration, proving that sometimes the strangest laws are the ones that deny basic human autonomy. 7. Alabama's blindfold prohibition. Certain laws feel less like preventative measures and more like direct insults to the local population. Case in point, Alabama makes it expressly illegal to drive a motor vehicle while blindfolded. You have to wonder what sequence of events necessitated this. It suggests that at some point, enough people tried it that a lawmaker had to stand up and say, "All right, listen up, folks. We need to make this official." Was it a dare? A stunt? A tragically misguided trust exercise? The law's existence is a silent monument to the fact that somewhere, somehow, someone thought driving without vision was defensible behavior. It's a powerful reminder that for every bizarre warning label, there's a story, and for every obvious prohibition, there's apparently a Floridian who made it necessary. 8. The Korean driving score game. South Korea has gamified traffic enforcement through smartphone apps that turn every driver into a potential bounty hunter. Citizens can upload dashcam footage of traffic violations, illegal U-turns, aggressive driving, running red lights. If the report leads to a fine, the person who reported it receives a portion of the money as a reward. Navigation app TMAP claims its driving score system prevented 31,366 accidents between 2018 and 2020 by tracking acceleration, braking, cornering, and speeding. By 2024, 19 million participants had joined, with over 10 million earning insurance discounts through safer driving scores. The system transforms road culture into a social competition, where scores are public and rankings matter. Critics raise privacy concerns, but proponents argue it creates a rare alignment of interests. Safer driving lowers accident risk, insurers save on claims, and drivers save money. It's crowdsourced traffic enforcement meets competitive gaming. 9. Cyprus's hydration prohibition. Planning a road trip through Cyprus? Reconsider your snack and drink choices. It's strictly illegal to eat or drink anything at all while driving. Not just alcohol. Not just complicated burritos requiring 2 hands. Anything. That includes a sip of water. In a Mediterranean country where summer temperatures regularly reach the mid-30s Celsius, taking a drink from your water bottle is a finable offense worth 85 euros, 340 euros on the second violation. It turns every drive into a high-stakes game of how dehydrated can I get before reaching my destination. The logic is straightforward. Hands holding food or struggling with ketchup packets aren't on the wheel, but the implementation feels draconian. In Cyprus, the shawarma wrap waits until you're parked, or you're paying the price. Authorities take enforcement seriously as road traffic increases. Behind the wheel is no place for munching or multitasking. 10. Switzerland's Sunday silence mandate. Switzerland values peace so intensely, they've weaponized the concept of quiet. It's illegal to wash your car on Sundays, not because of water conservation, but because of noise. The Swiss value their day of rest so seriously that the sound of a pressure washer or even a sponge hitting a car door is considered an unacceptable disturbance. Your car can be filthy, but your Sunday must be silent. It's the ultimate battle between cleanliness and tranquility wins every time. This isn't just about car washing. Switzerland's Sunday laws extend to mowing lawns, hanging laundry, and recycling trash. Violations can result in fines, or, if unpaid, even jail time. The entire country operates under a stealth mode protocol after 10 p.m. It transforms the simple act of getting out of your car into a mission where you must gently guide the door until the latch clicks with ninja-like silence. 11. Denmark's undercarriage child inspection. Danish law suggests a far more thorough pre-drive inspection than most of us consider necessary. Before turning the ignition in Denmark, you're legally required to check for children sleeping underneath your car. This raises an immediate and urgent question. Is there a widespread epidemic of automotive napping toddlers in Scandinavia that the rest of the world has somehow missed? The law also requires checking lights and brakes, but the image of a Danish professional meticulously doing a full tactical sweep of their Volvo every morning is magnificent. The rule may stem from urban areas where children play or hide under cars, but its specificity suggests enough incidents occurred to warrant legislative action. While some Danish drivers claim they've never heard of this requirement, it remains part of official driving regulations, a strange precaution against a very particular danger. 12. The Manila license plate lottery. What if your car was grounded once a week by government mandate? That's daily reality in Manila, capital of the Philippines. To combat apocalyptic traffic congestion, they've implemented a number coding system where you're banned from driving on certain days based purely on the last digit of your license plate. Plate ending in 1 or 2? Stay home on Mondays. 3 or 4? No driving on Tuesdays. It's a mandatory timeout for your Toyota. A rolling restriction that rotates through the week. The system aims to reduce vehicle numbers and ease gridlock. The magnificent loophole? Wealthy residents simply buy a second car with a different plate ending. Problem solved, if you can afford it. For everyone else, it's a weekly exercise in planning around automotive prohibition. A reminder that in sufficiently congested cities, driving isn't a right. It's a privilege rationed by bureaucratic lottery. 13. Ontario's anti-sledding enforcement. If you're in Ontario, Canada during winter, you might be tempted to have some fun with snow. Just don't get your car involved. The province's Highway Traffic Act makes it illegal to attach a toboggan, sleigh, or similar conveyance to a motor vehicle for the purpose of pulling it. All those movie scenes of kids being pulled on sleds behind the family station wagon are depicting criminal acts in Canada's most populous province. It's a law designed to take all the fun out of a snowy day, born from safety concerns about combining high-speed vehicles with towed winter sports equipment. The regulation reflects a pragmatic but joy-killing approach. The liability and danger of children being dragged behind cars on icy roads far outweighs the entertainment value. It's winter party prohibition. Legislated. 14. Spain's spectacle surplus requirement. If you wear prescription glasses, Spanish law wants you prepared for optical emergencies. Drivers are legally required to carry a spare pair of glasses in their car at all times. This seems almost reasonable until you consider the logistics. What if you wear contacts? What if your prescription changes? What about drivers with progressive lenses or specialized eyewear? The law has probably created an entire sub-industry of forgotten, out-of-date spectacles rattling around in Spanish glove compartments, gathering dust between insurance documents and ancient parking receipts. The intention is noble, ensuring drivers maintain clear vision if their primary glasses break or get lost. But the practical reality is likely thousands of obsolete eyeglasses serving as automotive artifacts, technically fulfilling legal requirements while being functionally useless. It's well-intentioned regulation meeting real-world chaos. 15. Singapore's anti-idling activism. Singapore takes environmental enforcement seriously with a rule that challenges tropical comfort. It's illegal to leave your car's engine idling for more than 1 minute. The anti-idling law is enforced with serious fines. If you're waiting to pick someone up, you're expected to turn the engine off. In a country known for its tropical heat and humidity that can make a parked car feel like a pressure cooker, this means choosing between saving the environment and sitting in a vehicle rapidly turning into a sauna. It's a small sacrifice in theory, 60 seconds isn't long, but in practice, that minute disappears quickly and enforcement is strict. The law reflects Singapore's broader commitment to air quality and emissions control. It's environmental regulation that directly impacts personal comfort, forcing drivers to weigh ecological responsibility against the physical misery of tropical heat. The planet wins, you sweat. 16. The United Kingdom's urination urban legend. There's a legendary legal loophole in the United Kingdom that has circulated for centuries. The story goes that it's legal for a man to urinate in public as long as he does so on the rear wheel of his own vehicle while keeping one hand on the car. Let's be perfectly clear. This is a complete myth. It has no basis in modern law, but it's so specific and so widely believed that it's become legal folklore. A phantom law offering a bizarre imaginary solution to a very real problem. The myth's persistence says something fascinating about how legal misinformation spreads. The more specific and oddly detailed a claim, the more believable it sounds. The rear wheel detail, the hand-on car requirement, these specifics lend false authenticity. It's a cautionary tale about urban legends disguised as legal facts. 17. Kentucky's bathing suit legislation. Get ready for one of the most baffling and outdated laws still technically on the books. In Kentucky, a woman cannot appear in a bathing suit on any highway unless she's escorted by at least 2 police officers or unless she's armed with a club. Let that sink in. The law provides 2 options for a woman in a swimsuit to walk down a road: a police escort or a blunt weapon. This is a real, albeit completely unenforceable and unconstitutional law from a bygone era when lawmakers apparently believed women in swimwear posed such a public distraction or moral hazard that armed protection or weaponization was necessary. It's a window into historical attitudes about women's bodies, public space, and control. The law remains a legislative fossil, too absurd to enforce, too embedded to formally remove. 18. Oklahoma's comic book prohibition. Oklahoma law wants to make sure your full attention is on the road, going so far as to ban specific forms of distraction. It's against the law for a driver to read a comic book while operating a motor vehicle. Not a novel, not a newspaper, not a dense philosophical text. Specifically, a comic book. Once again, a law so incredibly specific must have a fantastic origin story. Who was the driver? What was the comic book so captivating it required legislative intervention? Was it during a particularly thrilling issue of Spider-Man? The Batman storyline that couldn't wait? The law's specificity suggests someone somewhere was caught mid-commute, completely absorbed in illustrated panels, oblivious to traffic. It's a reminder that every bizarre law is a monument to someone's poor judgment, immortalized in legal code. 19. The Red Flag Act Requiem. Long before the car was king, it was a terrifying, fire-breathing monster. The United Kingdom's 1865 Red Flag Act provides perfect proof. To operate a horseless carriage, you needed a crew of 3 people. 1 to drive, 1 to act as stoker for the engine, and a 3rd to walk 60 yards ahead day and night, carrying a red flag to warn people of the approaching mechanical beast. The speed limit was 4 miles per hour in the country, 2 miles per hour in the city. It was less like driving and more like a slow, pathetic parade for a machine everyone feared. The act reflected deep suspicion of automotive technology, treating cars as dangerous novelties requiring theatrical warning systems. It throttled automotive development for years, keeping Britain's car industry stunted while other nations advanced. Eventually repealed, it stands as a monument to legislative technophobia. 20. European canine restraint requirements. In America, it's common to see a happy dog with its head out the car window, ears flapping in the wind, tongue lolling with pure joy. In many parts of Europe, that's a serious offense. Countries like Germany and Italy have strict laws requiring dogs to be properly restrained in vehicles, either with special harnesses clipped into seatbelts, in travel crates, or behind cargo barriers. An unsecured pet isn't just a distraction, it's a violation worthy of fines. It's a complete shift in perspective. The dog isn't just a passenger enjoying the ride, it's precious cargo that must be secured for its own safety and others. In a crash, an unrestrained 60-pound dog becomes a projectile. The laws reflect a pragmatic approach to pet transport, prioritizing safety over the nostalgic image of a dog enjoying the breeze. 21. Georgia's playground prohibition. What's the one place you should never, ever drive your car? A playground seems like an obvious answer, the kind of thing that doesn't need stating. The state of Georgia felt the need to make it official. It's explicitly illegal to drive through a playground. Much like Alabama's blindfold ban, this law's existence is a silent monument to the fact that at some point, someone, somewhere thought it was defensible. Someone drove through a playground with children present, and apparently argued it wasn't technically prohibited. So Georgia had to write it down. No, you cannot drive your sedan through where children play. The law exists in that uncomfortable space where common sense required legislative backup, suggesting that human judgment sometimes fails so spectacularly that obvious prohibitions must become official. 22. The interior clutter citation. That pile of old fast food bags and empty coffee cups in your passenger seat isn't just messy in some places, it could be illegal. In countries like the UK and parts of Australia, you can be fined if the clutter inside your car is deemed a safety hazard. The law kicks in when an avalanche of old mail slides under your brake pedal, or a tower of takeout containers blocks your view. It gives police power to act as impromptu interior design critics, issuing tickets for failing to drive in a non-hazardous environment. The threshold isn't about aesthetics, it's about functionality. Can you reach the pedals? Can you see the mirrors? If your car's interior has reached levels where basic operation is compromised, authorities can intervene. It's a fascinating intersection of personal space and public safety, where your private mess becomes a legal issue. 23. Estonia's wheel chalk mandate. When you prepare for a road trip, what do you pack? Snacks, a playlist, maybe a map? If you're driving in Estonia, the law requires something more specific, a pair of wheel chalks. Those little wedges you stick behind tires to prevent rolling. For passenger cars, you must have two. It's a level of practical safety preparedness most drivers never consider. It's not just about the handbrake. It's about having a backup for your backup. The requirement reflects a culture of thorough preparation and redundancy in safety systems. While many drivers in other countries might not even know what wheel chocks are, in Estonia, they're mandatory equipment. It's the kind of specific regulation that seems bureaucratic until you're parked on a steep incline and your handbrake fails. Then those mandated wedges become lifesavers. 24. The unlocked vehicle offense. If your car gets stolen, who's to blame? You might say the thief, but in many places, the law might partially blame you. In several Australian states and some American towns, it's illegal to leave your car unlocked with keys in the ignition if you're more than a few meters away. These laws are designed to prevent crimes of opportunity, making it a legal violation to create an easy target. If you leave your car running to warm it up on a cold morning, you're not just taking a risk, you're actively breaking the law. The logic is crime prevention through forced compliance. By making negligence illegal, authorities hope to reduce vehicle theft. Critics argue it's victim blaming, punishing car owners for criminals' actions. Proponents say it's practical. Why make it easy? Either way, that warming car in your driveway could be a legal liability. 25. The UK's nighttime parking protocol. When you find a perfect parking spot on the opposite side of the street, you just pull right in, correct? In the United Kingdom, that could get you a ticket. It's illegal to park on the right-hand side of the road at night. The reason is safety. Parking against the flow of traffic means your rear reflectors won't be visible to oncoming cars, making your vehicle a hazard in the dark. It's a simple, logical rule that feels completely alien to drivers used to grabbing any available spot. The law requires thinking about your vehicle's visibility from the perspective of approaching traffic, not just your own convenience. It's one of those rules that makes perfect sense once explained, but is completely non-intuitive to visitors. Foreign drivers often receive tickets before they even know the rule exists, learning about UK parking protocol through enforcement. 26. South Dakota's teenage driving frontier. In most places, you have to wait until you're 16, 17, or even 18 to get your driver's license. In South Dakota, the land of Mount Rushmore and wide open spaces, you can get a restricted driver's license at the ripe old age of 14. 14! An age when most of us were primarily concerned with navigating middle school social hierarchies, not four-way intersections. It's a stark reminder of how different the concept of old enough to drive can be in a state with tiny population density and vast farmland. In rural areas, driving becomes a practical necessity early. Kids need to help on farms, travel long distances for school, and contribute to family operations. The restriction recognizes the difference between urban and rural realities. What's reckless in Manhattan is practical necessity in rural South Dakota. Geography shapes legislation in fascinating ways. 27. The UK's contactless payment paradox. Be careful how you pay for your next burger at a drive-thru in the United Kingdom. Because the engine is running, using your phone to make a contactless payment technically violates the law prohibiting handheld device use while driving. This puts millions of drivers in a bizarre legal gray area every single day. While police have said they would use common sense, the letter of the law suggests that tapping your phone to buy a coffee could, in theory, land you with a hefty fine and points on your license. It's a perfect clash between 21st century technology and 20th century lawmaking. The regulation was written to prevent distracted driving, but failed to anticipate contactless payments becoming standard. Now, drivers face a technical violation every time they pay for fast food without pulling into a parking spot first. Modern convenience meets outdated legislation. 28. Darby's tire-screeching prohibition. Feel the need for a dramatic exit? That satisfying squeal of rubber on asphalt as you peel out of a parking lot might feel like a scene from an action movie, but in Darby, Kansas, it's a crime. A specific local ordinance makes it illegal to screech your tires. It's not about speeding, it's not about reckless driving, it's about noise pollution and the act of showing off. This law is the legislative equivalent of a wet blanket, a citywide no-fun zone for anyone wanting to make a statement with their accelerator. The ordinance targets the sound itself, the automotive expression of aggression or excitement. Every Hollywood car chase would rack up dozens of these tickets before the first turn. It's a reminder that in some places, how you drive matters as much as how fast. 29. Spain's footwear enforcement. Thinking of driving in comfortable footwear in Spain? You might be breaking the law. It's illegal to drive in footwear that could impede your ability to safely operate the vehicle, commonly interpreted by police to include flip-flops, high heels, or even driving barefoot. The fine can be steep. It's a rule that makes perfect sense from a safety perspective. Flip-flops can slip off pedals, high heels can get caught, bare feet lack protection, but it has definitely ruined the post-beach travel plans of more than a few unsuspecting tourists. The law doesn't specify exact footwear requirements, leaving interpretation to police discretion. This creates uncertainty. Are sandals acceptable? What about Crocs? The ambiguity means tourists often learn the rule through enforcement, receiving tickets for footwear they never considered problematic. Pack closed-toe shoes for Spanish road trips, or risk the consequences. 30. The Denver boot origin story. If you've ever seen a car with a giant yellow clamp on its wheel, you've seen a law in action. That device, the Denver boot, was invented in, you guessed it, Denver, Colorado. It was created as a solution to the massive problem of unpaid parking tickets. Instead of towing the car, which requires finding it again and creates impound storage issues, the boot immobilizes it, forcing the owner to confront their fines head-on. It's a physical manifestation of a legal penalty, a medieval-style stockade for your automobile. The boot's invention revolutionized parking enforcement worldwide. Its elegance lies in simplicity. The violator must come to the city and pay, rather than the city chasing the violator. It's simultaneously punishment and billboard, advertising the driver's violation to the world. The bright yellow clamp became a global symbol of parking consequence, all starting in Denver. 31. Devon's reversing ritual. Picture the ancient, winding country roads of Devon, England. They're often incredibly narrow, barely wide enough for one car, with high stone walls on either side. Here, a powerful, unwritten law of the road dictates driving etiquette. When two cars meet, who backs up? The rule is simple and merciless. Whoever is closer to a designated passing spot must reverse. It doesn't matter if you're in a tiny Fiat and the other driver is in a massive truck. If the passing spot is behind you, you're making the long, stressful drive in reverse, possibly for hundreds of yards. There's no rank, no vehicle size hierarchy, no sympathy. It's a system built on pure pragmatic geography. The narrow roads make this protocol essential. Without it, traffic would deadlock constantly. It's unspoken but universally understood, enforced by practical necessity rather than legislation. 32. Sweden's 24/7 headlight requirement. Sweden has a rule that feels strange to visitors from sunnier climates. Drivers are required to keep their headlights on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, regardless of season or weather. In the long, dark Scandinavian winters, this makes perfect sense for visibility. But driving through the brilliant sunshine of a midsummer afternoon with your lights blazing feels deeply counterintuitive, like wearing a raincoat in the desert. It's a simple, effective safety measure that has become so ingrained it's now second nature to all Swedish drivers. The constant beacon serves dual purposes, making vehicles more visible to other drivers and pedestrians even in daylight, and creating a habit that doesn't require seasonal adjustment. Studies show daytime running lights reduce accidents. Sweden made it law decades ago. A constant reminder that visibility isn't just about seeing, it's about being seen. 33. Switzerland's door-closing diplomacy. That satisfying, solid thump of a car door closing is one of life's simple mechanical pleasures. But in Switzerland, a country that has weaponized the concept of quiet, that sound could get you in trouble. It's illegal to slam your car door, especially at night. This isn't a traffic law, it's a noise law that applies to your vehicle. The Swiss value their peace so intensely that the jarring sound of a slammed door is considered an unacceptable disturbance. The entire country operates under a stealth mode protocol after 10 p.m. It transforms the simple act of getting out of your car into a high-stakes mission where you must gently guide the door until the latch clicks with ninja-like silence. The law reflects a culture where communal peace trumps individual convenience, where even minor noises are policed. Your exit must be as quiet as your presence. 34. The Sunday car dealership closure. Imagine it's Sunday, your only day off, and you've decided today is the day you're finally buying a new car. You head to the dealership ready to negotiate, only to find it completely deserted and locked up tight. This isn't because of a holiday, it's because of law. In a surprising number of U.S. states, including Illinois, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, it's completely illegal for car dealerships to be open and sell vehicles on Sundays. These are remnants of old blue laws designed to enforce a day of rest. In an age where you can buy a house on your phone at 3 a.m., you're legally barred from purchasing a Ford Focus because of centuries-old religious tradition. It's a massive, legally mandated inconvenience for buyers and sellers alike in a 24/7 economy. A weekly reminder that some commercial activities remain calendar-constrained by historical precedent. 35. Memphis's automotive class system. In the early days of the automobile, Memphis, Tennessee had an ordinance that feels like a bizarre relic from a forgotten age. To operate a car, you were required to have a servant or attendant run ahead of your vehicle to warn pedestrians and horse-drawn carriages of your approach. This wasn't just a safety measure, it was a class statement, a law assuming every car owner had staff on hand to act as a human horn. The regulation combined safety theater with social hierarchy, suggesting that car ownership and servant employment were inseparable. It's fascinatingly elitist legislation, treating automobiles as luxuries of the wealthy requiring dedicated personnel. The image of uniformed attendants sprinting ahead of Model Ts is simultaneously absurd and revealing about early automotive culture. The law reflected a brief moment when cars were so rare and expensive that such requirements seemed reasonable. 36. Marietta's vehicular spitting hierarchy. Let's be honest, sometimes you just have to spit. It's a gross fact of life, but if you find yourself in Marietta, Georgia, your legal right to do so depends entirely on what you're driving. A long-standing city ordinance makes it illegal to spit from a car or bus. However, the law explicitly carves out a glorious exception. It's perfectly legal to spit from a truck. This creates a bizarre vehicular caste system, a legal hierarchy where truck drivers are granted a freedom denied to sedan owners and bus passengers. What was the logic here? Did the city council hold extensive debates about expectoration rights? Is there something about truck culture that necessitates expectorant exemptions? It's the ultimate example of a law so specific and nonsensical it becomes accidental art, a legislative masterpiece of arbitrary distinction that raises more questions than it answers. 37. France's ghost breathalyzer law. For years in France, drivers were legally required to carry their own personal, unused breathalyzer kit in their car. Mandatory equipment just like a spare tire or safety triangle. But here's the magnificent twist. After years of this rule being in place, the government eventually scrapped the fine for not having one. So now it's a law without punishment. A legislative ghost. You're technically required to have it, but absolutely nothing happens if you don't. It's Schrodinger's cat of traffic regulations, existing in a state of being both mandatory and completely optional. The law was intended to encourage drivers to self-test before driving, reducing drunk driving incidents. But when compliance proved difficult to enforce and the policy failed to significantly change behavior, authorities quietly abandoned penalties while leaving the requirement technically on the books. 38. Nevada's camel prohibition. Here's a quick one from Nevada that feels like a solution in search of a problem, but perfectly captures the state's quirky spirit. It's illegal to ride a camel on the highway. This clearly speaks to Nevada's Wild West history, where the line between livestock and transportation could get blurry. Someone at some point clearly saw the potential for a camel-based traffic jam on I-15 and decided to nip it in the bud before it became a real issue. The law likely stems from the 19th century U.S. Camel Corps experiment, when the military imported camels for desert transportation in the Southwest. Some escaped or were released after the program ended, wandering the Nevada desert for decades. The law reflects a time when the possibility of encountering a camel on a public road was non-zero, a legislative response to a uniquely Western problem. 39. The UK's rabid dog taxi rule. In the United Kingdom, it's technically illegal for the driver of a hackney carriage or taxi to transport a rabid dog. This seems like a pretty solid rule for everyone, not just cabbies. But the laser-like specificity is what makes you pause. Why not all rabid animals? What about a rabid badger, a foaming-at-the-mouth fox? The law implies there was a very specific, very frothy, and very traumatic incident that prompted this legislation. The story is probably the stuff of nightmares. Imagine being a Victorian-era taxi driver confronted with a passenger insisting their clearly rabid dog needs transport. The regulation reflects an era when rabies was far more common and animal transport more routine. It's a window into 19th century public health concerns, when diseases like rabies posed real urban threats. The law's survival into modern times makes it a curiosity, a legislative fossil from when such scenarios required explicit prohibition. 40. Australia's Bus Passenger Protection Act. Let's visit Australia, where in New South Wales, the law creates a strange pedestrian caste system. It's illegal for a motorist to splash a bus passenger with mud or water. But here's the kicker. The law specifically protects people waiting for, getting on, or getting off a bus. If you splash a regular pedestrian just walking down the street, it's just considered rude. But if they're at a bus stop, you're a criminal. What makes bus passengers a legally protected class against puddle attacks? Is there an assumption that bus riders lack the resources to dodge puddles or pursue legal action? The specificity suggests either a powerful public transit lobby or a very particular series of incidents involving soaked commuters and unsympathetic drivers. It's a law that recognizes some pedestrians are more legally equal than others, at least regarding water-based vehicular assault. 41. Denver's Black Car Sunday ban. In Denver, Colorado, it's illegal to drive a black car on Sundays. This is one of those old, archaic blue laws no longer enforced, but still technically on the books. These laws were originally designed to enforce religious standards. While its exact origin is murky, the implication is magnificent. Imagine trying to explain to the rental agency why you can't take the only car they have left because its color violates a 100-year-old municipal ordinance. The law likely stems from Sabbath-keeping traditions, when certain activities, including some forms of work and display, were prohibited on Sundays. Black. Being associated with work vehicles or formal affairs might have been targeted for vague moralistic reasons. The law's survival is accidental, forgotten legislation too obscure to formally repeal. It's a legal zombie, technically alive but functionally dead, existing as a curiosity rather than a practical regulation. 42. New Jersey and Oregon's gas pumping prohibition. The entire states of New Jersey and Oregon hold on to a strange automotive tradition. It's illegal to pump your own gas. For visitors, it's a bizarre and sometimes confusing ritual to have an attendant rush out to do it for you. For locals, it's just life. Every single gas station is full service by law. It's a strange throwback that proponents say saves jobs, creating employment in an era of increasing automation. Critics call it inefficient, adding time and cost to a simple task. The laws originated in the late 1940s and early 1950s, justified by safety concerns about untrained people handling flammable liquids. But decades later, as self-service became standard everywhere else, these states held firm. It's mandatory low-stakes luxury in the middle of some of America's busiest regions. A legislated service that divides opinion, charming tradition, or inconvenient anachronism. 43. Little Rock's sandwich shop horn ban. Thinking of honking your horn in Little Rock, Arkansas? Better check the time and your location very carefully. It's illegal to sound your car horn after 9 p.m. at any place where cold drinks or sandwiches are served. Not restaurants in general, not bars, but specifically places serving cold drinks or sandwiches. A very particular noise complaint somehow got enshrined into law. Was there a war between a local deli owner and a driver with a powerful horn? Did a late-night sandwich shop become a gathering spot for horn-happy motorists? The specificity is what makes this law art. Why cold drinks and sandwiches? Why not hot food? The mental image of city council members debating the difference between hot and cold food establishments in the context of horn usage is glorious. It's hyperlocal legislation responding to a very specific problem that the rest of us will never understand. 44. Minnetonka's tire cleanliness standard. The law can sometimes get obsessed with very specific types of cleanliness. In Minnetonka, Minnesota, it's a public nuisance and therefore illegal for a truck or other vehicle to drive on roads if its tires or wheels are depositing mud, dirt, sticky substances, litter, or other material. In essence, having dirty tires is a findable offense. This transforms every car wash into a critical legal compliance center, and every puddle into a potential crime scene. It's a beautiful vision of a town so pristine that even tire treads are held to impossibly high standards. The law likely originated from rural concerns about farm equipment tracking mud onto public roads, creating slippery hazards and unsightly conditions. But its application is gloriously broad. That sticky tree sap from your driveway? Criminal. The mud from camping? Violation. It's cleanliness standards applied with legal force. 45. Belarus's discretionary dirt assessment. Don't get caught with a dirty car in some parts of the world. In Belarus, driving a vehicle considered unclean can land you a hefty fine. The glorious absurdity is in the vagueness. There's no official dirtiness scale, no government-issued color chart to compare your fender against. It's entirely up to the discretion of the police officer to decide if your car has crossed the line from a little dusty to rolling public nuisance. Is your car charming rustic or criminally filthy? A stranger with a ticket book decides. This creates a system ripe for selective enforcement, where the definition of unclean shifts based on officer mood, weather conditions, or potentially other factors. The lack of objective standards means two identical vehicles might face different outcomes. It's bureaucratic power meeting subjective aesthetics, with your wallet caught in between. 46. Glendale's velocity-specific jump ban. Some rules are born from caution, others from hyper-specific, baffling scenarios. In Glendale, California, it's illegal to jump from a car that is moving at 65 miles per hour. The specificity here is what makes it art. The law doesn't seem concerned if you do it at 60 miles per hour or 50. Only at 65. This implies a city council sat down and debated the exact velocity at which jumping from a vehicle transitions from a bad idea into a full-blown criminal act. Was there a threshold study? Did someone calculate the survivability rates at different speeds? The precision suggests either a very particular incident or lawmakers with too much time for granular regulation. It's the kind of law that makes you wonder about the story behind it. Who jumped from a car at exactly 65 miles per hour? And were they okay enough afterward to inspire legislation? 47. San Francisco's underwear car wash ban. In San Francisco, a city known for progressive ideals and steep hills, there's a law so specific it paints a vivid and disturbing picture. It's illegal to wipe down or dry your car with used underwear. This is it. This is the pinnacle of laws that should not need to exist but clearly do for a reason. There's a story here. A story of poor choices, questionable hygiene, and a city official who saw something so profoundly wrong, they felt compelled to immortalize it in municipal code forever. Was it a homeless person using available materials? A college prank gone too far? A misguided effort at recycling textiles? We'll never know the full tale, but the law's existence guarantees that somewhere, at some point, someone cleaned their vehicle with undergarments deemed sufficiently used to warrant civic concern. The law is both answer and eternal question. 48. Youngstown's fuel management misdemeanor. Running out of gas is embarrassing. In Youngstown, Ohio, it's also illegal. This isn't a massive felony, of course, but it is a minor misdemeanor. The logic mirrors Germany's Autobahn rule. A stopped car obstructs traffic and creates a hazard, representing preventable error rather than unavoidable breakdown. Still, it feels like kicking someone when they're already down. You're stranded, frustrated, out of gas, and now you're also a lawbreaker. The enforcement likely focuses on situations where running out of fuel creates significant traffic disruption rather than every individual incident. But technically, the moment your tank hits empty in Youngstown, you've crossed from unfortunate circumstance into criminal territory. It's a law that transforms personal misfortune into legal violation, suggesting that planning failures carry official consequences. The message is clear. Check your fuel gauge or pay the price, literally. 49. Costa Rica's drinking while driving loophole. For a long time, Costa Rica had one of the most head-scratching drunk driving laws in the world. It was perfectly legal to drink alcohol while driving as long as your blood alcohol level didn't cross the legal limit. You could literally have a beer in your hand while cruising down the highway. The act of drinking wasn't the crime. The state of being legally drunk was. This massive and frankly terrifying loophole meant drivers could consume alcohol in real time, playing a dangerous game of blood alcohol roulette. The logic was technically consistent with drunk driving being a threshold violation rather than an act-based one, but the practical result was roads where drivers openly consumed alcohol. Thankfully, the law has since been tightened significantly, closing this loophole. But for years, Costa Rican highways featured the surreal sight of drivers legally drinking while operating vehicles. Modern regulations have ended this madness, prioritizing safety over legal technicalities. 50. The grand finale, verdict and final word. We've navigated 49 different kinds of legislative madness. Which deserves the crown of most magnificently dumb? The award must go to Pennsylvania's 1909 rule requiring drivers to disassemble their car and hide it in the bushes for a spooked horse. It's the only law that expected every driver to also be a master mechanic with a full toolkit just to survive a trip down a country road. It combined impracticality with absurdity in ways no other law managed. Every element, the dismantling, the concealment in bushes, the assumption that calming a horse required automotive invisibility, defies logic. It's legislative surrender disguised as regulation, demanding drivers prostrate themselves before equine anxiety. No other law on this this list requires such elaborate, time-consuming theater or assumes such mechanical expertise from ordinary citizens. But here's the thing about these laws. They're not just historical curiosities or bureaucratic mistakes. They're mirrors reflecting humanity's relationship with technology, control, and each other. From the criminalization of fuzzy dice to legally mandated car disassembly, each rule tells a story about fear, power, cultural values, or someone's spectacularly poor judgment. Denmark's child under car checks reveal parental paranoia. South Korea's traffic bounty hunters show gamification of civic duty. Switzerland's noise obsession demonstrates cultural values elevated to legal mandate. These aren't just regulations, they're anthropology disguised as traffic code. The road rules governing your daily commute are stranger than any fiction writer would dare invent. They reveal the magnificent chaos of lawmaking, the hyper-specific responses to bizarre incidents, the cultural quirks elevated to legal requirement, the archaic regulations that persist like legislative zombies long after their purpose died. Every time you drive, you're navigating not just physical roads, but a labyrinth of historical accidents, moral panics, and bureaucratic overreach crystallized into enforceable code. So the next time you're behind the wheel, remember, you're not just driving, you're performing a daily act of compliance with regulations born from spooked horses, furious deli owners, underwear-based car washing incidents, and legislators who spent entire sessions debating the precise speed at which vehicular jumping becomes criminal. The road is governed by the magnificent, bewildering evidence that humans have never quite figured out how to share space with machines. Or each other. Your turn. If you could instantly erase one of these laws from existence, which would you choose? The Pennsylvania horse-appeasing theater? Alabama's blindfold ban that insults everyone's intelligence? Or perhaps Marietta's vehicular spitting hierarchy? The comment section awaits your verdict on which rule deserves permanent deletion from the legislative record.